What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Beta Memoirs and the weekly update. And this week, we have a lot of interesting play going on. It is not stopping. This market is quite interesting. We were at a crucial point on Friday. I thought we were actually going to break out. Tech looked extremely promising. Then we had some news drop on crypto. That China was going to essentially start doing some regulation on crypto. And for whatever reason, although the market does not seem correlated with crypto, every time crypto drops, the market has really been dropping with it. Being said, that kind of leaves us in a rough spot. So opening up on Sunday night with the futures will be interesting to see what happens. But being said, I want to go hold and pull up the weekly calendar here and see what we got going on. This week we have a lot more data coming out, which is extremely crucial. There's a lot of eyes on the data that is coming out. So it'd be interesting to see what happens this week. I think last week the report, my mind was the FOMC, essentially the Fed meetings notes came out on Wednesday of last week that kind of gave the clear just in talks that tapering is been talked about. There hasn't nothing else been discussed as far as we're aware of, as far as where the Fed is going. Again, Powell has really talked about not doing tapering for a while. And when start tapering, essentially stop buying the short end bonds at this point. Which would help with essentially start buying the longer term bonds to help with the yield curve. If essentially what is going on with the market to combat inflation at that point. So being said, again, a lot of this data is very repetitive. That comes out. These numbers come out weekly, almost weekly. A lot of the same numbers do come out every week. You got job numbers and stuff like that. Everything is under a microscope at this point because of inflation. Even there was a document that had come out by ARK Invest this week discussing how long this potentially can take. Kathy and her team are essentially looking at a 6-month window that is including the past 2 months that we've kind of had, the past 2 choppy water months that we've had. Being said, she also mentioned in that document that it could come a lot sooner than we expect. And I was kind of looking at that on Friday. I think Friday we were really looking at that, and then we kind of closed. Let me actually just go ahead and bring up the chart so we can see this in action. So as we can see with this chart here, what I was really looking at, we had this great move after the report. We did sell off, but then we started moving up Wednesday, Thursday. And being said, going into Friday, we really looked like we were going to break out. Everything looked extremely strong. We had value pushing, we had tech pushing. Apple and Facebook really died out, and then Tesla tried to break out. It really wanted to break out. It actually pushed quite a bit overnight and then hit that top of the range and died out. Although it just slightly stalled, it doesn't look like it died out too much, just like the market here. And it was something to keep in mind. And then there was this tug of war throughout the rest of the day. The market didn't want to sell. It didn't want to go up. It didn't want to do anything. Again, keeping us in a range. So being said, even on the daily, looking at the daily, there is a lot of chop. And let me actually go pull up some studies here because I do use the studies quite a bit when I am trading. Again, I was kind of hoping we can close above that 1583 mark. Again, it really depends on if we can open Monday on that 1583. I think will really matter. If we do break above that on the SPY, I think I can see us starting to break out again. Again, I think what is going to happen, again, just my opinion and my theory on what is going to happen is we will possibly run in the next couple of weeks And then when the Fed come back and have their meeting, all eyes are going to be on the Fed and what they're doing, what they're planning, and then with the tapering. That piece of information is really what I think is holding everything back. You do have individual stocks that are running. Also, some great news on NVDA. They are doing a stock split. I believe it's a 4-to-1 stock split. So being said, that is one that does have a momentum. So it's ultimately looking for the ones that have momentum. Right now, things have just been, again, extremely choppy. If you've been at all in this market, you know how choppy it is. But again, tomorrow or Monday really matters on how we open with a SPY. QQQ in itself, we got rejected pretty hard. Not saying that we are out of the woods or we are in the clear. We are still in a very neutral stage here. We are pinned in between the 2050 and the middle Bollinger Band. A typical normal move when we're coming back up, just from a candle aspect, you're going to get that rejection, hitting that middle Bollinger Band, retesting. Typically, what will happen is we break above the next daily candle. We should get a nice break above this. And then start heading back up. That's what I'm looking at on Monday. Again, anything can happen, but ultimately, I think the state of the market in itself, again, there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of uncertainty. You're going to get chop, and it's not the greatest. And I know I sound very repetitive in a lot of these things, hoping that these things start turning around. Even a lot of the markets, even a lot of the value. I was going over a lot of the value stocks before coming up with a watch list. And one thing I noticed is that a lot of the value stocks are starting to push down now, which was good to see on Friday because it allowed tech to start pushing. There was a lot of tech that was pushing. And then again, middle of a day, everything just sold off and just played chop. So that is something to keep in mind. But this week, again, I have a lot of leaders here. I do have value in BA, looks great on the daily. Tesla, as always, I think is a good lead indicator, and Facebook are good lead indicators for tech. Snap is starting to show a lot of life. I had a lot of great news on Thursday. And NVIDIA also coming out and saying with the stock split. So that's something to keep in mind. Those past couple stock splits that we've had have really ran it up, and it's at a point on the charts in which we can get some good running going. It's starting to break above the middle Bollinger Band and has a lot of headroom. So that's something to keep in mind. But ultimately, that's what I have for the watch list. Let's go ahead and get into it. Tesla, as always, is the first one we have. I liked to see this. This was, I really wanted Tesla to regain that 200 moving average on the daily. It was concerning. It was started dropping well below this on, what was that, Thursday or Wednesday? And so it was nice to see us reclaim that and retesting that 200. So I do see Tesla possibly starting to break out. Even on the hourly was something I know I was watching on Friday. We had this nice gap up. I did get in this and sold right at open. I had some calls coming into Friday. That was my biggest mover on Friday. Again, and then the news with China and Bitcoin came out, and that kind of just a crash. It's a lot of the companies that are holding Bitcoin have really been struggling with essentially almost the collapse of crypto. Although there's been a lot of different stuff that's come out about coordinating crash that was supposed to happen in crypto. Theory, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it is what it is, but the companies that are holding crypto have kind of taken a beating because of what has been happening to crypto. It didn't really help that Square came out too and essentially said that they took a hit because of crypto. But being said, Tesla, it's still at a decent price, but we really need to break out of here. We need to break this 604 mark. If we can break this, there's a lot of consolidation down in here. But if we could break that 604 mark, we're really going to see this start running. And I think at that point, the market itself is just going to start pushing because of Tesla. So that's something to keep in mind. Right now, there's been a lot of great consolidation in a lot of these really good companies. And I think it's only a matter of time. You just have to be patient with this. And I know I keep reiterating this, back in March, I thought it's going to be very bullish. There is a ton of money in the market. It's just this normalization that is occurring currently right now, and realizing that it's really trying to determine what's going on with pricing, supply and demand. A lot of different issues have also arisen during this time as well. So that's why I think we've been really kind of stagnant this whole month of May. So being said, Tesla, that's what I'm looking for there. Facebook on the daily. It's looking good, actually. It's coming into support at the 314.53 mark, which is really good to see. If it does hold that, the 14. So essentially, we don't want it to break below the 200 moving average. I do have a zone here, but ultimately, if we can stay above this, I think we can really start pushing back up, get some momentum back in Facebook. Facebook has really been a good lead indicator going over the past couple months, even though tech has been struggling. Facebook, anything essentially that is has ad revenue has been doing very well. That's also why I've been playing a lot of Snap lately. But Facebook in itself, I think, is at a good support. Again, we don't want it to break that 212 or essentially that 213 mark and break below that, because we could easily see 300 again. Although we had a nice setup here earlier. We had that 300 hit, and then we come back down, and we had a nice bounce off some support here at the 304 mark, 305 mark, and started ripping back up. I think Facebook is just going back up to all-time highs and breaking that easily, I think, at this point. And the market is again figuring itself out. But once Tesla starts going, I think the rest of the market will follow. As Snap in itself, again, had some fantastic news on Thursday and had a massive rip up that day. And then started selling like everything else on Friday. I'm looking for it to actually come back to the 200 moving average here. When it comes back to 200 moving average, I think we can get a nice reversal off this. It's against support here as well. We do have, again, quite a few bounces off this, which is good to see. So I'm looking for that bounce at the 555 mark, essentially for Snap. Again, Monday morning, even futures open if we gap up or down, or maybe we just stale at that point, which I'm pretty much assuming we're just going to be stale coming into pre-market Monday. We might get a little bit of selling. Again, some of the stuff is trying to come back down into support as what I'm seeing. So I have to see how that works. But ultimately, I think we're still good. Ultimately, like fundamental wise, I think we're still very solid. So I'm not really concerned about that. But I think it's just a matter of time and just being patient. The market it's got a lot of different things going around, a lot of policy changes and stuff too. So that comes into play, and a lot of stuff is waiting until policy is being created and shifted. And once that is being done, then from that point, then we'll start I think then we're starting to really pushing up hard at that point. So it's essentially just being patient and getting position now before that happens. BA in itself, I think looks great. If we can come back down to this 233 mark, I think they had some good news on Friday, actually, that they were able to start. I want to say they're able to start making one of their planes, and that's why we had the push up on Friday. And it held well. So I'm looking for this to continue on Friday. But ultimately, what I really liked on this chart was the fact on the daily, we finally broke out of the downward pattern. We could see a retest again of that 231.56 mark. And then from that point, all-time highs for BA, I think, is a high possibility. NVDA is the other one of the stock split news. They had a ton of other news coming out too as well. Again, if we could get, although with what's been going on with the stock splits, people have been kind of going crazy and making parabolic moves. I don't know if it's going to retest, but if we get a retest back to 587, that would be fantastic. That would be extremely bullish in my mind. And then we can start really ripping towards the top. So I'm looking for pullbacks on NVIDIA and trying to follow that momentum. It does have earnings on the 26th as well. So the 26th is on Wednesday. So that's something to keep in mind. So there could be some really good movement on this going into that as well. But that's essentially what I got for you guys. Again, be patient. There's a lot of uncertainty. Again, we're getting some news that come out with pipeline being shut down. We have a bunch of like random stuff that's come out as well. So we're just trying to find our way. Again, I think we don't have the Fed for a couple weeks, and I think with that being said, that will allow us to start really trying to gain some traction again. Again, there's a lot of big tech that has been consolidating for a couple of days, a couple of weeks now, in move or in preparation for a bigger move, in my opinion. And it's, from what I've seen, it's been very bullish. There's been a lot of buyers in these zones when it comes down into these ranges and hits the bottom of these ranges. There's been a lot of buyers there. And it will not essentially allow it to break below or above. So that's something to keep in mind. But remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Manage risk, and let's go get it, guys. Till next time, later.